Well, here we are, a week into the Minnesota fishing season. Technically, I know we fish crappies all spring, still fishing crappies, but we are a full week into the Minnesota fishing season with the opener a little over a week now. It is Sunday. Oh my gosh, what is the date? It is the 18th of May already. Next weekend is Memorial Weekend, which I'm super pumped about. I got a really busy week ahead of me with trips every day. And then I'm actually going to take Saturday, Sunday, Monday off and hang out at the cabin. Hang out in Wisconsin, chase some walleyes, chase some panfish, chase some bass with the kiddos, with the wife. I know some of my kids have some friends coming up to the cabin. And so I'm excited for that, super pumped up. We got a busy walleye week ahead of us. Hopefully, that's what we're going to be targeting a lot, is walleyes this week. Tell you what, we talked about this last week, that we needed some cooler weather to come through. Where here I am, midday Sunday, rocking a hoodie and a Blackfish vest, a pair of sweatpants, where last week I think I was sweating giving you guys this fishing report. It was gotten to the 90s. Now today I think the high, I don't know if it's even gonna hit mid 50s today. It's low 50s right now, tiny little bit of breeze, overcast, feels more like mid-May. And I'll tell you what, I made a little comment the other day on Facebook. The walleyes, it's spring again. It's where it should be. Water temps are kind of dropping a little bit. Not that they're plummeting, so I'm not trying to make anyone scared. It's just when we had that high sun, not a ton of wind, weird, rapid change in things in the water. I was seeing like algae blooms and different things happening. The fish didn't acclimate as well as we would have liked. So now they're starting to do what they're supposed to do. You're seeing walleyes not just up on top of the structure and in the structure, but they're starting to, especially during prime time, first 3 hours of light, sundown, you're starting to see them be a little more nomadic and move off the structure. You can see them more with electronics. They're easier to catch. Those are some of the things I've noticed here in the last few days, and I bet you this entire week it progresses down the similar front. Looks like we're gonna get some rain Tuesday, maybe Wednesday, some cold rain, so it might be the kind of day if you're on the water. I know myself, I'm gonna probably have a little layer of long underwear underneath all my main garb, and then I'm definitely gonna have probably a pair of bibs on and a Blackfish rain jacket, if that's what the case might be. So dressing for it appropriately, cooler than normal temperatures coming up, maybe some rain. Promise you some wind, because that's just what we do here in Minnesota now. I feel like we're like our friends to the west, the Dakotas, where it's just windy every day. And if you look at the forecast this week, I'm pretty sure I saw quite a bit of wind Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. It looks like we're going to get a little bit of, like I said, precipitation Tuesday, Wednesday here in the Twin Cities. Then it's going to push through, and it's still going to be relatively chilly. I think highs in the 60s. But it looks like the latter half of the week, Thursday, Friday, into the weekend, looks favorable, looks comfortable. You're not going to be out there probably in a swimsuit jumping out the back of your boat, but it looks like it should be good mid-May, stable fishing weather, which for me, sorry, that's all I ask for when it comes to fishing. Is I just want stability. We've talked about this, whether it's a week of warm weather, week of cool weather, whatever it might be. I just don't like the ups and downs, the ebbs and flows. And I feel like if you look at what we're going to get this next week, it's going to be pretty stable. So the bite pattern, bite window should be pretty consistent this entire week. So how did we catch our fish this last week? Well, it's a tale of two stories. We caught our fish earlier last week. We had to get into the cover. Fishing wasn't that great. I mean, the bass were chomping. So if you like the bass fish right now during the catch and release season here in Minnesota, they're going. It's not hard. We caught them on wacky rigs. We caught them on small swim baits. We caught them on flukes. They were biting a Ned rig. They were biting a jig worm. I mean, you get the point. They were biting a chatterbait. They were biting all kinds of presentations. The bass were relatively hungry, chomping, pre-spawn, moving up into the shallow edges, inside weed lines, expansive flats, pockets. I mean, they were kind of all over the place. I'll be honest, I didn't heavily target bass. We caught plenty of them, but it wasn't like that was my main focus. I didn't put on my bass head hat this whole week. We caught them, honestly, sort of by accident. We weren't really bass fishing, trying to catch walleyes all week. Picked up a handful every day, but really had to work for them. Dive deep into the weeds, snap jigging reactions. I caught a lot of fish on a fluke. I caught a lot of fish on, let's see, this, come on buddy, pull this rod over here. Caught a lot of fish on this kind of setup, snagged up, and I'm not even in the boat. This is a drop TG jig head. That's a tungsten jig head from Clam Outdoors. I've talked about this a million times. If you don't know what a drop TG is, you probably didn't watch any of my videos. Just love that jig. Great mustad hook, very versatile. This is a 1/8 ounce head. You can obviously go up a size, you can go down to a 1/16. 1/8 got the most used, 3/16 got used a lot. And that's just a little fluke. A ton of brands make a fluke style bait, just a thin profiled minnow bait. Looks almost like a shiner minnow. This is about a, I don't know, 3.5 inch, 4 inch profile, not overly big, thin and slender, and that thing kind of darts up and flops. It's a reaction bait, especially when these fish moved into the cover. I was pitching it into the sparse weeds. I had a lot of people ask, how do you fish this heavy cover? I'm not pitching into the heaviest cover. I'm kind of looking for the area where it kind of sparses out. That's kind of the transition area where these fish are sitting. And I pitch it into this area and I kind of snap it back. I'm not ripping it like a Tikka minnow or Jig and Wrap. I'm kind of snapping it back, letting it fall back into place, trying to get a reaction out of these fish. That bait caught a ton of fish for me this week. Caught big largemouth too, so this was a versatile presentation. I'm just fishing it on a spinning rod, medium light, medium action spinning rod, 7 foot, 7.6, braided main line, anywhere from 10, 15 pound test main line to a fluorocarbon leader and 6-8 pound test line. Very, very versatile presentation. Easy way to catch a bunch of fish right now, whether it be walleyes, whether it be bass, whether it be kind of whatever's biting. I just kind of chuck that bait around cover water. I can fish this in 3 feet and I pitched it into 15 feet. So maybe you vary your jig size, weight of your jig head if you're going a little deeper and if you got more wind. But this last week we had plenty of days where we kind of got out of the wind, or the wind was 5 to 10, relatively nice, and I could get by with an 1/8 ounce. I think it is important to get by with the lightest weight jig head you can, but the conditions can determine obviously what that is. So I may have to go to a 3/16 or something of that nature and pitch around if we have wind coming in or we're fishing different types of structure. So that's one of the setups I was using, 2500 series, 3000 series Shimano reel. I'm a big fan of that Miraval. We've talked about that before. At that price point, Miraval retail is like $129.99. It is a great reel for the price. No excuses at all on that one. I like it, and it doesn't necessarily break the pocketbook. Thorne Brothers has a good stock of 2500 series and 3000 series Miravals. You can swing in there, have them spool it up, put it right onto a rod of your choice, and away you go. So that caught a pile of fish. I'll probably play that a little bit again this week. We'll see what happens. You know, I talked to somebody the other day on a trip about just twister tails. They asked, well, do you use twister tails anymore? Absolutely. And this is not intended to be a shameless plug for Mr. Twister. You guys all know that I've been with them for a long, long time. But we oftentimes forget about just your standard twister tail. This has stood the test of time. This has caught millions of fish, I would imagine. I would assume over how many decades. But the standard twister tail will still get bit a ton. I'd go a little beefier. The slender tail is great. It works well too, but I've been fishing the fat tail. This is a little, I don't know if you can see, meatier profile. A lot of anglers put this on the back of a swim jig for bass fishing, but I'll just put this on a jig head. Same jig head we just talked about, drop TG, and I'll pitch this in a similar manner. I can slowly swim this back to the boat. I can give it a little bit of snaps. I can give it a down rod turn so that thing falls down, snap it back up. It's amazing how many fish still bite just your standard twister tail. Oftentimes we overthink it. I mean, this color right here is called bluegill. I mean, this thing right here is just sweet. You know me, I talk about bluegill pattern Kamita, which is your Senko style bait a lot. This bluegill style twister tail with your favorite jig head also just gets bit. So don't neglect just a plain twister tail if you want to get out there and just color water. We walk down the rows at Thorne Brothers and there's just aisles and aisles of it. They have a whole supply of twister tails like this in all of your favorite colors. So grab a hold of something like that, throw it on there, and away you go. I also think live bait. I'm not the biggest advocate for live bait. Obviously, you know, when it comes to crappie fishing, I don't bring it. When it comes to walleye fishing, I have it in the boat. I have leeches, I have night crawlers, I sometimes have minnows. there's been times the last few days, as well as the last few years, in several situations where these walleyes just want to bite a live leech on a jig or under a float. It is the name of the game. So if you're stopping by Thorne Brothers or your local bait shop, grab a half-pound of leeches. They stay in your fridge for weeks, and you can definitely just throw them in the bowl with the cooler, because I had several times this last week where I am looking at walleyes on my sonar. I know they're walleyes. I'm confident they are. They won't bite anything we've talked about. I snipe a power cork and a leech, and that fish comes right up and takes it. I know, talking to some of my friends the last couple days that have been out fishing in these cooler conditions, that's been the only way they've been able to catch these fish as well. So don't be afraid to bring the live bait. In fact, I encourage you to stop at your local bait store, support them, buy some bait. Even a half a chunk of crawler on a jig head drug through some of these same spots will get a bite when the plastic bite, the reaction bite, doesn't work as much. You kind of just feed them what they want. I'm using a power corking setup. I'm using a plain hook, split shot about that far up, swivel about that far up, heavy cylinder weight, and my bobber. It's called a sharpshooting rig. I use the Kalen setup. I think it's the one that Tom Boley pushes. I've caught a lot of fish on that. Lindy makes a bunch of them. There's a pile of companies that make a really good bobber float system that you can rig up. And I'm using the sharpshooting method because everything kind of falls into a spot about yay big. And my fluorocarbon is from here to my hook. From here is braid, and I can sling that quick, and that heavier weight goes down pretty quick. I would Google or YouTube some of those tactics. It'll show you how to rig up like a power cork setup to where you're just kind of sharpshooting these fish. If you have forward facing sonar or something of that nature, even if you don't, that's fine. I would still fan cast this the same way. Throw it to where you think there's a school of fish, inside turn, edge of a weed line, let that bait go down quick. You know, I even kind of work that leech back, put my rod tip down, wait 10 seconds, maybe work that rod tip back, put my rod tip down, wait 10 seconds, and then I might reel up and pitch it again. So you can be a little more aggressive with a float setup than what we've been taught as kids, where you cast it out there and just sit there and read a book and watch and see if your bobber goes down. I'm a little more active with this type of setup. So that's kind of my bobber approach. I'll try to do a video on that just to show you what I'm doing and what I'm using. And maybe on next week's report, or when I'm at the cabin, I can maybe get a fish to bite on it and we'll show you exactly what's happening. But that's kind of my gamut this week. We're going to still chase some crappies. The crappies are still relatively shallow. They were still spawning up until the last few days. We didn't chase them yesterday or today. We were chasing other fish, but I would imagine you're still going to see some fish on beds. So that can be something to look for this week. Our bluegills have not quite moved onto beds yet. We're a week or so behind. Probably need a little more warm weather for that to really kick off. That's going to be probably very end of May, early part of June. But they're definitely mixed and commingled with the crappies, which is super fun here in the Twin Cities. You can catch some crappies, catch some relatively nice bluegills on Lake Minnetonka right now. I'm very impressed. I've had a lot of clients bring home some bluegills for dinner with rave reviews. The best part of the meal was the bluegills, not the crappies, not the walleye fillets. It was the bluegills were great. So don't overlook your panfish, your traditional sunfish too out there. If bite's tough and you want to get on a school of bluegills, bend the rod, have some fun, catch some fish. So that's kind of what we're looking at. Water temps, they are staggering around mid 60s. I feel like upper 60s. We saw some 70-degree water temp last week. I think that was that really, really warm stuff that came through. We're back to reality here, mid 60s, upper 60s, kind of right where it should be. And I expect things to be consistent this week. Not the most comfortable on the water, like we've talked about to kick off this video, but consistent, and I will take consistent. So that's the plan. I'll come back at you next week, and we'll see how things shake out with the Memorial Holiday, what day I get the report out. Probably film it from the cabin in western Wisconsin. And if I can, I'll get it out for you again next Sunday on what's cooking here this next week. So busy week on the water. Hopefully these fish want to bite. Hopefully they cooperate a little better than last week. And we go out there and have a whole lot of fun. So get out there, be safe, enjoy your time in the water, set some hooks. And if there's anything you want to know or see, just comment below and I'll do my best to help out. Have a great week, everyone. Be safe.